All right, everybody, you have just tuned in to the Steel City Blitz Steelers podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And just like Victory Monday is not getting old, it is not getting old when I get to tell you that the Pittsburgh Steelers have won again. They are now 10-0 on the season. They are one of very few teams that have accomplished this in the Super Bowl era. And I didn't see this coming. I'm thrilled that it's here, but it's just an amazing run, and I hope everybody is enjoying it. And now we get the Baltimore Ravens on a short week, and there's all kinds of news about that, but I'm going to hold off on that. We'll definitely cover that, but we'll dive into the win over Jacksonville first. And joining me tonight is Ben, but I really don't care about him because Ellie is back with us. And as everyone knows, Ellie is like one of the nicest people on Twitter, and how she remains so nice is beyond us with all of the stuff that's out there. But she's also the biggest Troy Polamalu fan ever. And we will not hold it against her that she actually likes the Seattle Seahawks highlighter jerseys.
Oh, no.
I mean, I'm sure Ben sees those all the time out west.
They're obnoxious.
They are. They do. They look like a bunch of little highlighters running up and down the field.
They look like a bunch of guys working on a construction site.
Yes, they do.
Safety green.
Well, if you throw them in with like the Green Bay home crowds, like in late November, you get the highlighter green with the safety orange. So if you just threw them all together, it'd be a nightmare. Anyway, Ellie, thanks for being with us. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm pretty good. Thank you.
You are very, very welcome. And Ben, I know how you are. I don't really need to ask you.
I'm fine.
Yeah. So, hey, the Steelers win 27-3 yesterday. And, if you hadn't seen any of the game and just, pulled up your ESPN app at 6:00 in the evening and saw, 27-3, rolled over them pretty good. Ben, what was that true? Did they roll over them or was there some consternation before things got clicking?
Yeah. I mean, early on in the game, the Steelers didn't look real sharp. It didn't really matter that much. Offensively, they didn't look real sharp, in my opinion. They kind of brought it together later, but I mean, Boswell missed a kick and Roethlisberger missed an opportunity at a touchdown there at the end of the second half.
First half.
Excuse me, first half.
Yeah.
End of the second half. Yeah. Ben was sitting. So, I mean, it could have been worse. It certainly was not perfect, as Tom pointed out immediately afterward. We still have some work to do. Things were not perfect at all. I thought that James Conner had a really nice game. Nice game. The receivers, are a super talented group. Ben, I thought he was sharper overall than he was versus the Bengals. I've read other people said the opposite, but I disagree. Even that last offense. Well, I guess it was the last play technically of the first half,
right?
Where he threw the pick. Initially, when I saw it, I thought he made a bad decision there.
I did too.
But no, James Washington fell down. He got bumped off the route and fell. And, it was a good defensive play, arguably DPI, but the guy was playing the ball, so maybe not. It just sometimes the other guy makes a play. It just happens.
Absolutely.
Ben did throw that ball late.
Yeah.
If he'd thrown it earlier, it probably would have been a touchdown, but it wasn't. It is what it is. Steelers still won. I tweeted something earlier today. It's not always pretty, but it's really effective, and that's just been the story of the 2020 Steelers season. So I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to accept this and just be like, it's okay. It's okay.
And look, I don't know about you guys, but I have my Steelers gear on almost every day, and that goes for 365 days a year. I've always got something Steelers on, whether it's a hat or something, and certainly in the last couple of weeks, I get people, especially where I work, hey, you guys are looking great. And my standard answer is always the same. One game at a time. I said, this is great. It's exciting. And Ellie, what is when you're watching the Steelers, and I'll take Jacksonville on yesterday for an example.
Mm-hmm.
When you're watching the game unravel and you see, Boswell misses a field goal, the offense is kind of sputtering. How would you rate your level of anxiety at that point?
As high as it would be if we were 40 points down. I don't think it matters, especially in the beginning of a game. I don't think it matters if we're up by 3 or down by 3. At that point, I'm stressed. I feel a loss coming. I'm ready to hang. The season's over at the beginning, the first 5 minutes.
So
the season was over for me for then.
So when do you, at what point, and I ask this not just, you particular, because I think every Steelers fan has a different kind of mindset when it comes to this, but is there ever a point when you get comfortable with the Steelers game?
Yeah, there is. It's usually around that point where the clock says 0-0-0.
Well played, ma'am. Well played.
I will say, actually, last week's Bengals game, I started to enjoy actually watching it sort of late in the third. I was kind of okay with the game at that point. But usually I don't like to sit back and relax because I don't want the team to sit back and relax either until it's done.
That is so fascinating because I feel oftentimes, and I know many, many other fans feel the same way. It's I don't want to get comfortable because I know they shouldn't be getting comfortable.
Yes.
And I think, to what Ben was talking about the interception at the end of the first half, I was really looking at that possession as like a bonus possession. And so I'm thinking, yeah, no, I know. And I'm just thinking, you've got to get points here. You're up by 14. Get points and stretch this out to a 3-score type thing. And that's why when I saw the interception, I was just like, oh my God, what's he doing? But that's how I view it. And very similarly to Ellie, what you're saying, my anxiety is going to go up and down with the team and that comfort level and everything else. And I knew in my heart of hearts that my comfort level would have been a lot better had they been able to tack on even a field goal there. So I agree. I agree with you. Yeah, maybe we speak for all of Steelers Nation in that regard. Ellie, you also you heard Ben talk a little bit about James Conner. What did you see from him yesterday that you thought, okay, this is James Conner that I'm used to seeing?
I saw a lot more. There was a lot more. I noticed some patience in the back there. I noticed on a couple of plays, and I was watching it with my best friend, and we sort of talk about the game together. And I said, that was reminded me. And I don't like to compare the two because they're very different. Right. But it did give me. There was a couple of plays that reminded me of Bell. That okay, that didn't work. I'll step back. I'll allow my line to give me another passage, and I'll go in the other direction. And that was what I wanted to see. Sometimes I think he makes a decision in his mind, and he's not prepared to change his decision. He's going in that direction, and he will not differ based on the way the play is sort of moving. And I saw a couple of times that he was prepared to switch it up, change direction because it wasn't as effective in the way he was going, and that was when he was getting 9 or even 10 yards.
That's a really good take because we all did not want to compare him to Bell at all. Number one, it's not fair to compare in general, but I think there's some truth to what you're saying. He looked like a little bit more patient runner yesterday. And granted, some of his yards came on a busted play and whatnot. But, Ben, what did you see yesterday with the running game? Was it just a really bad Jacksonville defense or did the Steelers run game actually look better?
It was better. They blocked better for the most part. I thought the line did, and the tight ends and the wide receivers. Although Zach Gentry got injured on a running play, but whatever. I just thought that Conner ran harder. I just saw more determination. That play where there was a broken play going to the left and Roethlisberger had to get in the way, remember? And
it was beautiful.
Got in the way of 3 defenders, and Connor got away and ran for 16 yards on what should have been like a 5-yard loss.
Definitely.
That's like a 20-yard swing on that play where it should have been like -4, and instead we got 16 yards. It's things like that where he's just like, well, no, not doing that. I'm going to go this way now. Okay. And he just has a mindset, or had a mindset yesterday where he just decided, no, I'm going to get these yards.
He's not normally that type of back that's going to be able to reverse direction all the way back across the field and pick up that kind of yard. So I was impressed by it. Yeah.
Because he doesn't change direction that quickly. He is more of a straight ahead guy. You know, he's got that spin move, but that's about it. And, you know, he wasn't using that. He actually stopped and turned back around and went, okay, I got to go this way.
So Ellie, my next question offensively is for you. And if you could predict before each game which receiver on the Steelers was going to have, let's say, the most catches and the most yards, do you think you'd be able to do it each week?
Absolutely not. And that's what I love about it, because it keeps everybody on their toes.
Yeah, it does. It's absolutely fascinating that this team, I think they probably go in with a mindset of knowing who the matchups are likely going to be. And okay, you know, Ben, this guy might be a guy we favorite. But I mean, there was no way I could have predicted that Johnson was going to see 12 receptions yesterday. And, you know, I think Juju was very pedestrian, like 4 catches, 19 yards, that kind of thing. And of course, Claypool had the touchdown. But is that part of what makes it fun for you, is just the absolute uncertainty of not knowing which Steelers receivers are going to make the big plays?
I would definitely say that they are a fantasy player's nightmare, because you never know who is going to get that you know, that touchdown or those yards. I remember yesterday when the play, I believe it was the one where Deontay Johnson ended up on the sort of like 1-yard line, and then they brought in Benny Snell for the touchdown. Who has Benny Snell in their lineup? Not a lot of people. So I just love that. Like, I love that they made that decision to go with him instead of James, or throw something to Claypool. But I think it does make it exciting, and I love that. You know, I think it adds an element of, I mean, our run game. Yeah, we're not on a level with other teams. We all know that, we accept that. So if you can provide a little bit of, I don't know what the right word is, but a little bit of something with the receivers that provides that kind of difficulty for teams to prepare for, because we don't have it in the run game, I think that's a brilliant idea. And that goes for our tight ends too. Like Ebron last week, I feel like had a lot of catches. This week, not so many. Couldn't have predicted that. You know, I didn't see that coming. I actually thought Claypool would have been used a lot more, because he had a rookie. He was being covered by the rookie. Oh, he has the same name, Clay something.
Claypool did draw a long pass interference.
He did,
which you know, was helpful. I actually hit Ian up during the game, and I'm like, hey, pass interference roulette, because I really thought that Ben threw that knowing that the corner had his back turned to him and he was going to grab Claypool and pull him, or that Claypool would catch it. And either way, the odds favored us getting a long game. Yeah. So he just went, I'm going there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and the whole pass interference roulette, of course, made famous by Joe Flacco and the Ravens. But yeah, I agree. You can't ever discount the fact that these guys are also creating offense when they draw those type of penalties too.
Exactly.
It's
unfortunately.
It's, you know, look, and we go round and round as just general football fans with this all the time about whether or not, you know, defensive pass interference should continue to be a spot foul, because it can just so easily flip the field. But that's the rule right now, and so you're gonna, you know, take your chances with it, and that's ultimately how it works out for us. So defensively, yesterday, Ben, look, they gave up 3 points, and it was 3 points on the very first drive. And I mean, I don't know about you, but just watching them at times is so fun when they just can start teeing off and going after a young quarterback like that poor kid Luton. I mean, he just, you want to talk about like a kid that was just completely out of his element.
He's not good to begin with. I'm sorry.
No,
he was terrible.
Yeah.
He was terrible. It was not even fair. I watched the film again today, I watched the game again today, and I'm just like, oh my God, this kid. It had to be frustrating, though, because he was getting teed off on left and right, especially by Bud Dupree and TJ. They're both coming in after him constantly. He's taking shots from Tuitt and Hayward, and those guys are not light. They're 3 bills plus, you know, and when he's not getting rushed down by one of those guys, either Alu or Hayward or Tuitt has got a hand up and in his face, and he's throwing the ball over the place. He was incredibly inaccurate because of it. He didn't have a clear field of view. It had to be frustrating for him. And I mean, it honestly, it just wasn't fair. When I look back at how poorly he played, it's like, how did they even get 3 points? It just, honestly, when the Steelers did some things yesterday that I hadn't seen them do yet, I gotta say, I'm really pleased with the progress of Terrell Edmunds.
Yes, me too.
He's playing much better, but they're doing some things now where, you know, third down package, third and short, where they've got Spillane and Vince standing up in the backfield with Bud standing up in the backfield.
Yeah.
And Edmunds, 8 men in the box. And Sean Davis behind Edmunds, along with Minka and a corner.
Yeah. Who saw that coming?
I think it was Joe Hayden. And I'm just like, okay, that's an interesting formation. I didn't really see that coming, but okay. You know, well, 3rd and 1, we're going to kind of leave this heavy package in here, except we're going to have some DBs in the back, too, in case you try and run something sneaky. It's nice how multiple this defense is becoming.
True.
The different things they can do and the different things they're prepared for. I liked it. Sean Davis did miss a tackle on that 3rd and 1 play that I was just talking about. But, you know, beyond that, I mean, I got to give that kid Robinson, James Robinson, who plays for the
nice
the
player.
Some props. Yeah, he's for real. That kid's legit. If the rest of their team was legit, it might have been competitive, but it's not.
Ben, you stole my thunder a little bit in my segue over to Ellie here, and then she immediately told me what I thought I was going to hear, and what I'm getting at is, how excited were you, Ellie, for Terrell Edmunds yesterday?
Oh, I was I mean, the first one had me like, I was so overjoyed. I felt I'd made the interception myself. And then when he made the second one,
second one was
when he
better.
made the second one, I honestly, I was like, I'm going to predict the lottery numbers this week, because that was the best feeling in the world. I was so happy for him because he has been quietly successful this season, and he has been building on something very quietly, so he's not a big name, he's not a big playmaker, he's not thinker, but he earned it. I really truly believe that he deserved those interceptions. I know it was on a pretty shaky team against a pretty shaky team, but they count to me, and they count in his stats. And
but here's the thing, you have to give him credit. His awareness and his understanding of the opposing team, that's film study, have both grown to the point where he's in a position now consistently to make plays. And being there is literally half the battle. Being in the right place is literally half the battle. And the other half of it is understanding all of it so that it slows down, and you can make those plays because you're reading them before they happen. And that's where his game is growing. And that's why he's making plays. It's about that preparation.
Yeah. His greatest weakness was his lack of ball awareness.
Yes.
He really just had no concept of he was always, I felt, such a, what's the word? I can't think what I'm trying to say, but when the ball, he was all great for tackling someone, but the ball had already been caught. The yards had already been made. He was such a, he was always
just didn't know to get around to the ball in time.
Yeah, he was never he was never in front of the play. He was never working, the quarterback. He was always like, oh well, the plays happened, but I can at least end it with less yards by taking out the player, the receiver. But this time he was so much more hyper aware. He was in the right places at the right time, which by as a result allowed Minka to be more fluid and to move across the field more, because you could rely on Terrell Edmonds.
Speaking of Minka, when that ball was deflected, I mean, was it just me, or did he come out like he was shot out of a cannon to pick that ball up?
Yeah.
I mean, you could have had 10 other guys all standing there thinking they were going to intercept it, and he's like, I'm getting it. And oh my gosh, he was so fast. But I agree with both of you what you're saying about Edmonds. He's been a punching bag for a lot of people.
Well, we ripped him to shreds after the Denver game.
We did, and I don't think anybody's in any hurry to say that he's an all pro. I think what we're all ready to say is that he's improved. And it's very clear.
What I'm ready to say is that he's finally meeting his potential. And it's really encouraging to see, because it seems like each week he seems to be getting a little better and a little better. Yeah. And now he's having fun. He's getting loose. It's not like he's feeling pressure to live up to something. He's finally living up to it. And like I said, the biggest thing that sticks out to me is the game is slowing down for him. And that shows awareness. That shows a deeper level of preparedness. And that's why he's in those positions to make those plays all the time. And even if he doesn't catch the ball out of the air, he's going to be in a spot where he can take that player down immediately and limit those gains, which honestly is really important.
Well, I commented on this, I think, on Twitter right after it happened. I don't know if you guys caught it, but the enthusiasm that his teammates showed when he got those interceptions, to me, spoke volumes of what they think of him.
Yeah.
That they really like that kid.
I would agree.
And I, this is obviously, and Ben has said this several weeks in a row now, it's a special team, not just because they're winning. And look, winning takes care of a lot of ills. We all know that. But this team just seems to really like each other, and even when TJ and Keith Butler are going at it on the sidelines, we can still see this team really enjoying playing for each other.
Well, the thing that Juju says all the time, he says it week by week by week, over and over and over again, is there's no ego on this team. No one cares how often, who gets the ball. No, we don't know our stats. Nobody knows what's going on.
Right.
We don't keep track of it that way. We look at the score and we try to hype each other up. Somebody makes a play, we go over and we celebrate with him.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just, I think if we go back to the comments, we were, I was asking Ellie a little bit about anxiety and stuff. And, they're sitting there at 20-3 and I felt pretty good. But then they hit that little pop, that play action there out of that heavy set to Ebron to really put it away. And, that's where I kind of started thinking, okay, all right, we can relax now. And especially the way we had treated that poor quarterback. I didn't see him bringing him back.
Point, I just didn't see it. At a certain point in the fourth quarter, I looked at my buddy and I was like, when are they going to pull him? He goes, well, who do they have behind him? I said, that's a good point.
Well, and did it matter? Yeah, it certainly did not. So, hey, just a quick reminder, everybody, you're listening to the Steel City Blitz Steelers podcast presented by DEK Roofing, which serves Broward and the southern Palm Beach counties. Whether it's commercial or residential, multifamily, or condos, contact DEK Roofing today by visiting dekroofing.com. Okay, so we're 10-0. The Browns won a very wet, stormy battle against the Eagles yesterday. They now are in second place at 7-3. The Ravens,
more importantly, the Ravens are in third place.
They are, and they dropped an overtime loss at home to Tennessee. And now we're all having our coffee this morning, and lo and behold, the Ravens have had to shut down their facility because
that's terrible.
I know,
awful.
I can sense your raw emotion here, Ben. Ellie, does hearing that several guys will not be available for this game from the Ravens, does that make you feel better or a little more nervous about this week?
Honestly, the fact that they lost on Sunday makes me more nervous for this week. An angry Ravens team is certainly not a team I'd like to face. And I know that their record is 6-4, but let's not forget that they do still have the talent. They just haven't been able to make the connection this season as much as last year. So I don't think that this is going to be any easier just because Ingram and J.K. Dobbins aren't available.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, we don't even know how many of, they're still testing all week. We don't actually know the full number of people that might not be available. So I'd be interested to see if any more players test positive, because surely they'd have to put some of them in the same thing they did for Ben, close proximity.
The protocol,
The only person they had to push in was Brandon Williams, their nose tackle. And
okay,
because they've already done the contact tracing, and they only had about one more person in, which surprised me too, Ellie, that it was only one. But that player to me is a bigger loss than both those running backs combined.
I absolutely agree. Their nose tackle.
Yes.
Is that who it was?
Yes. Yeah, and he cannot play because he's got to test negative for 5 days.
Yeah.
And that's physically impossible at this point.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It was surprising to me that, a guy like Gus Edwards or even Lamar Jackson, I mean, they're around these other two guys all the time.
Right.
So and maybe, Ellie, to your point, maybe they do test positive later in the week. I mean, we're all still in many ways.
Honestly, I hope not. But
I don't want to play a Ravens B team. I want to play the Ravens. Because it's already started on social media where the Ravens fans are like, oh, well, you got to play us with not our real team. No wonder you'll win. But, I don't want any of the excuses.
Quit your sniveling.
Well, exactly.
Do they forget what 2019 was for us?
Apparently not.
Well,
they whipped up on our fourth string quarterback and talked a bunch of shit afterward.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck them.
And there goes our PG rating. Well done.
Lamar Jackson has had some terrible games versus the Steelers.
He hasn't played well.
He has not. He has been sacked 9 times in 2 games and turned the ball over 7 times.
Yeah.
Wow. 7 turnovers?
7 turnovers in 2 games.
And let's be honest, they're going to have a very clean game in order to beat the Steelers on Thursday night, especially without your top 2 running backs. And don't get me wrong, I like Gus Edwards. I think he's a capable running back.
I like him better than the other 2, but
much in the same way, I was more worried about Pollard than I was Ezekiel Elliott with Dallas. In many ways, but be that as it may, the situation is this. I mean, the Steelers could actually wrap up a playoff spot with a win and then losses by the Raiders and Dolphins. Now, the chances of that are
I don't want to talk about that.
I don't either. But what I'm segueing to here, Ben, is this, and I'll go to Ellie first for this. What is the most important thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers over the next 6 weeks? Okay, and I'll throw you the options here. Is it staying undefeated? Okay, staying undefeated. Is it staying healthy? Or is it getting that number 1 seed? If you had those 3 things to choose from, what is the most important for you?
Well, they're all important, so can I rank them?
Sure.
like most important to least important.
Ranked
I would
voting.
rank them as.
I love it.
I would rank them as staying healthy, first round bye, staying undefeated.
Okay, so just to be clear, you would say staying healthy is the most important thing, followed then by the first round bye, followed then by staying undefeated. Okay, all right,
Yes.
and that's a hill you're willing to die on.
What the hell? Seriously?
What?
I just like cliches.
The last hill I was willing to die on was that Terrell Edmonds would have a breakout year, so I'm going to die on this one too.
That's great. Well, and I'll credit Ian with this in our notes. He was chiming in before, and look, there's 6 games to go, obviously counting the Baltimore game here, and I don't like talking about this stuff. I'm very much a one game at a time person. I understand that you have to look across the league, see what other teams are doing in some cases. But, Ben, where would you rank these 3 items as Ellie just did?
I think getting the bye is the most important thing right now. And then, obviously staying healthy is like priority 1A.
Yeah.
And then staying undefeated is, I mean, a distant third. Being undefeated is cool and all, and I like it. It's great, but it's not the most important thing. Winning a championship is the most important thing.
Bingo. Yeah. And Peter King, who we've all had more than enough issues with over time, he made the comment today that the 72 Dolphins are starting to get nervous. No, they're not.
No, they're not.
No, not even close. Okay.
They got 9 weeks. You kidding me?
They have 9 more weeks to worry about. The Steelers still have an arch rivalry coming up. They still have the Browns at the end. They've got a tough Colts team. They've got to go to Buffalo. Don't start with that stuff. There are so many hurdles left in front of this team for that undefeated thing, So I'm with you guys. I think that bye is important, being that there's only one, and the health thing is huge for me. The health is probably the top. I would, if it meant my team being very, very healthy, I would give up that bye.
But
because you can get healthy with that extra week off.
You could,
not with an ACL tear,
right?
Well,
that's the thing.
You get an ACL tear, you're done. You're right, but
that's what I'm looking at. Is
typically what happens is you get bumps and bruises, or you slip and you sprain your toe somehow, like Juju did yesterday, and you need an extra day to sit around and take it easy, take it light. You know.
Yeah, and this is going to be a fascinating turnaround because the Steelers did not technically practice today, but they still had to issue an injury report, and the injury report looked longer than my kids' Santa's list. It's a wonder who played or who actually practiced or who would have practiced today. But that's what you get when you have a short week and you're coming off of a game and so on. So. That's kind of where things are in that respect. And I don't like looking ahead. But this is what fans do. This is what the media does. This is what generates clicks and people buying newspapers and all that stuff. So, so if you go back to that first Ravens game that the Steelers came back and won, they were outgained. They were, you could say in many ways outplayed, but Baltimore turned the ball over 4 times. Ellie, what do you want to see the Steelers do better this week versus that last matchup with Baltimore?
Well, clock management is definitely something I'd like to see improving at the end of the game. That stung us, or potentially stung us twice back to back with the Ravens game and then the Cowboys game. I just can't go through that again. It's aging me. I mean, that was so stressful, and it should not be coming down to the wire again. And I don't know how many times you can be that lucky to have Minka in the right place at the right time.
I mean, honestly, Ellie, how many times have you seen Ravens Steelers games come down to 3 or 4 points though?
Oh,
I'm saying this because
so right.
I want you to like physically, mentally, emotionally prepare yourself because Thursday that's probably going to happen again.
I'm never prepared. So I won't be able to eat. So really my Thanksgiving's ruined, but it's okay. But I hate Thanksgiving games and Christmas games. It's so stressful. But
right?
I would like to. Yeah, they're awful. But I'd like to see clock management at the end of the game, improvement there, and then what I'd give to have first drive touchdown. Ooh, it's a dream.
Yes. Yes.
Wouldn't that be so nice?
First drive success, or first drive enthusiasm, maybe even.
Yes.
Yeah. Ben, what do you want to see this time around from the Steelers?
Two things.
Yep.
And I'm only going to get one of them, but I'd like to see the Steelers improve their run game efficiency offensively.
Okay.
Because basically the Ravens in the first game put the blueprint out to stop the Steelers run game. And every team since then has copied the Ravens and been successful doing so for the most part. So I'd like to see the Steelers be successful running the ball, and I'd like them to stop the run versus the Ravens. They're not going to do that. They've had success doing exactly what they did the last time they played them, and that's going straight after Lamar. So what they're going to try and take away is Lamar Jackson, which is what they did the last time. They're going to hit him even when he options the ball out and flips it off to the running back. They're going to hit him anyway. Every time there's an opportunity when he hands it off, they're going to hit him anyway. They're going to hit him again. They're going to hit him again. They're going to try and contain him on pass plays. But anytime there's a run play, they're going to hit him. And that takes one guy out of the defense away from stopping the guy who's actually carrying the ball. So I expect the Ravens to have some success running the ball. I expect the Steelers to do exactly what they've done, which is go after Lamar and force him to have, an off game. And, because they've been successful doing it. They're not going to change it. They're not mixing it up until the Ravens show that they can beat it. They aren't. But I'd like to see them stop the run and run the ball well. And if they can do one of those things, boy, it's going to make our night a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a struggle enough on these holiday games to deal with the cooking, the cleaning, the family, all that stuff, and then you got to deal with the anxiety of a Steelers
cussing,
game.
the swearing.
Oh my good. Well, that's usually for my family. That's usually at the Thanksgiving dinner.
We're during the game though, that's happening. I'm just saying.
So Ellie, before we get out of here, I'm going to give you an opportunity at your if you have a parting shot here, anything Steelers related, and then please give us your prediction for the game on Thursday night.
My parting shot.
Do you have a parting shot? Anything that you maybe had on your chest, you've just had to say about the Steelers, about the Ravens, the NFL in general? Just it's an open forum. It's all yours.
Well, I could be here all week, so I'll just keep it short. I will say that Big Ben, we're playing in Color Rush on Thursday, and Big Ben is undefeated in Color Rush.
Oh boy.
We won't talk about the rest of the team. We'll just talk about Big Ben. Big Ben is undefeated in Color Rush. The Buffalo game never happened. And I don't like to give score predictions because I feel it's a jinx. So I will just say, if we're going to beat them, I think we beat them by more than 3. I think we beat them by more than 3 points this time.
Okay, I will accept that.
I'm. Yeah, that's all I can say.
We're going to beat them by 4 points.
Right.
We're going to beat them by 4.
Yeah, just so everyone's anxiety levels will be so bad the turkey will no longer matter. Ben, a parting shot and your final score for
prediction?
The game. Of course.
Lots of cussing during the game. Some screaming, maybe some things being thrown.
Oh.
Yeah, I know a handful of people that are going to throw shit during the game. Some of them watch the games with me.
Right.
Steelers 24, Baltimore 20.
Whoa. Okay. Wow.
Oh, gosh.
Ellie's already having heart palpitations.
It's gonna be. I mean, you're gonna be on the edge of your seat going the entire game. I'm just telling you, be prepared. Prepare yourself for this journey.
My poor family. It's going to be bad.
Now, on a quick sidebar, to before I get to the end here, Ellie. Now there is not Thanksgiving, obviously, in the UK.
Right.
So what do you celebrate it here with us red-blooded Americans? How do you do that?
Oh, yep. Since I've moved here, I've done Thanksgiving with my family or with family and friends every
terrific.
year. We do the whole meal, have family over, and do the whole 9 yards. We do all of it. The only thing we haven't really done is watch football because there haven't been Steelers on, and the rest of my family are not really big football fans. My dad back in the UK is, but the rest of my family really isn't. So this will be the first for them to have to sit and watch the Thanksgiving Steelers game. And my mum is not looking forward to it. She's already told me. She said, please don't make me call the police in the bathroom again. It's really annoying because she's had to do that before.
Oh my God.
She did, bless her heart, ask me one time, what position does Big Ben play on defense? And I said, ma'am, we're not doing this.
Hey, you know what? Maybe someday it'll all come back to your mother as to the return of Iron Man football. When guys played both ways. That's great. That's great. Oh, God. Yeah, there was a time many years ago when they weren't making nearly the money they are now. But, okay. Yeah. I think this is life and death for the Ravens. They cannot really afford to fall further behind. There are some really decent teams in the AFC. Obviously the Chiefs, the Raiders have looked decent. The Dolphins have been okay. Buffalo, I mean, there's decent teams and they can't afford to fall behind. So I think it's going to be in that ballpark, what Ben's thinking. I'm going to stretch it a little bit more. I'm going to say 27-20 Steelers.
That'd be comfortable. That'd be like a comfortable, cozy, kind of a warm blanket win by Steelers Ravens standards.
Yes, it would be.
I would agree.
And I'll take it. And maybe I'm just trying to will it.
Yeah, you are. You're dreaming.
I just, I'm just hopeful that the color rush and of course the 5,000 fans that'll be there will create plenty of noise that we get it done. But that will do it for us tonight. And thanks to both Ben and Ellie for joining us on the show. You have been listening to the Steel City Blitz Steelers podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And hey, go Steelers.
And hey, Ravens suck.